Hey everyone, are you ready to be fired up? Because I sure am. If you are excited to learn from Kenny Harper today with Growth Amplifiers, sit back, relax, and let's get ready to be fired up. Are you wanting a kickstart on your business and you want to learn how to be the go-to professional in your industry? Well, guess what? I've got a challenge for you. It's 5 days of coaching. It's brand new. Just go to KristaMashore.com/client conversion. That's KristaMashore.com/client conversion. And you'll get a training with me for 5 straight days that's going to help kickstart you as the go-to professional in your industry. So sign up and I'll see you there.
Rock and roll.
Hey, Kenny, how you doing? Thanks for being here.
I am doing awesome and glad to be here. You know, it's that wonderful time of the year right now where it's the end of the year. And whether you're tuning in at the end of the year or a different time, there's always time to be focusing on where you're going next. So this is going to be very timely.
Yes, I love that. So let's talk about that. So I know you've got a podcast, Growth Amplifiers. Tell us a little bit about that real quickly and let our listeners know where they can find you, and tell us a little bit about your backstory and who you are.
Got it. So Growth Amplifiers, you can go to growthamplifiers.com, and we're connecting with business advisors who are able to help others amplify their business by sharing their stories, some of the challenges they faced, and some of the actions that they took to overcome those obstacles and achieve new levels of success.
I like that. So it's like a big kind of like a big mastermind, but via podcast, kind of.
Yes, it is. It is evolving a bit. Initially, we had more business owners on, and we were really kind of honing in on having more advisors that can really bring their expertise in different areas. As everyone has the opportunity to continue to grow, it's only when we think that, oh, I already know everything, that we stop our growth and start declining. So it's always amplifying.
Yeah, it's never ever in my opinion, like once you stop learning, you stop dying. But not only learning, but implementing. I love, knowledge is power, but even more so than knowledge being power is the implementation and the actual taking action on what you're learning is what I believe really, really helps.
Critical. And in fact, one of the things I commonly tell people is, it's not what you know, it's what you do. And more importantly, it's the result that you get. Are you getting the desired result? Far too often, there are people that will say, I already know this stuff. I'm doing some of these things. I'm like, are you getting the result you want? Because if you're not, then you've got a gap. You got to figure out what that gap is.
So when somebody has a gap, how do you help them identify that gap and fix it?
So the first way is to really just step back and assess, and kind of assess where are your bottlenecks. And you're doing that to assess, do you have some weak areas that if you improve those areas, it would help everything run smoother. And to do that, we typically will just guide someone through an assessment process, ask some questions, and maybe it could be in their leads in sales. Maybe it could be in their operations and team. Maybe it's they don't really have a clear focus defined. Some really basic things, right? But if you can identify and get some awareness of maybe where the blind side is or what some of your challenges are, then you could start taking new actions to achieve new results. But if you're just so forward focused, plowing ahead, you don't take a time to step back, you might be running in the wrong direction. You ever seen one of those football clips where the football player starts running in the wrong direction and they're like, it can easily happen.
Yeah, so really being able to assess where you're at and kind of track your progress. I do my goal planning in 1 month increments, basically. So I try to get as much done in a month as most people get done in 3. And there's this book called The 12-Month Year that I sort of took this off of, or the 12-week year. I'm sorry, the 12-week year. And it talks about tracking and how important tracking is and assessing is where you're at. And this is exactly it, assessing where you are in your business and making changes and really, identifying where you're at so you can actually get where you want to go and identify, am I in the right spot? Am I doing this right? Do I need help or what's going on? I'd love that.
And here's something that I'd want to point out too, because I've been guilty of it in the past and I'm recovering ideaholic, is quit looking for the silver bullet. Quit looking for the silver bullet. Far too often people are looking for some new trend, new silver bullet that's going to come out and make everything easy And there's new tools and tactics that come out that you want to pay attention to. But what tends to work better is really coming down to the basics. Some of the most successful sports professionals, when they're looking to elevate their game, they take it back to the basics. They've got to really get the basics down and then maybe add some whipped cream and cherries on top
Yeah.
to enhance things. But if you don't have the basics down, then you could be, zigzagging like a bumblebee all over the place looking for something, and you're never going to get that momentum. So it's really, really a big challenge with a lot of small businesses, especially now with all the technology changing all the time.
Yes, constantly. And also like shiny object syndrome, right? Always wanting to,
Right.
let's do this and let's do that. And we just need to learn to focus on one thing and focus on it and really perfect it. I always say learn, implement, master, and then repeat, meaning learn something, master it, implement it, and then repeat it. Go back and how do I make this better? How do I continue to relearn? How do I implement, more and just continue to refine what I'm already doing? I think that's so many entrepreneurs and businesses are just trying to do so many things. And I've been guilty of that myself. Like I've had to learn over this past year, we really, really sort of cut back on the amount of things that we were doing. And we went back to the basics and just tried to refine. Refinement was like one of my key words, and refine everything and make it, just see how we could make it better and better and better and better. So great advice there. Okay.
I
Go ahead.
love it. No, I was just going to say, I'd double down on that, because you may be hearing that as you're listening in. You may be hearing, simplify. Yeah. But really double down on that. It's a discipline. It is a discipline, and it will challenge you. It's counterintuitive. And I know it's probably the biggest, most insidious thing that I see across most business owners, really, is trying to stack too much at the same time and then not being able to get anything fully in momentum and reaching the full potential because there's just too much going on. So just doubling down on that, simplify it, let go of some of the extra baggage, focus on a couple priorities, and really make them your top priority.
Yeah, I love that. That's how we do with our 12-month, 1 month planning and 1 month increments is we look at the projects for the year, we break them down into quarters, and then we break them down into months. Like, okay, if I just take this one thing and how can I get this one thing done over the next month? And you write down all the tactics that you need to do to make that happen. Then you put them into weeks and then into days, and you look at it on a daily and weekly basis to make sure that you're on track. And it just, you can just get so much done by doing that. So many people will try to do so many different things where they only get a little bit done on each, and you start to feel overwhelmed, and a confused mind does nothing, right? It's like, where do I start? And so you just kind of shut down. Whereas if you just work on projects and one thing at a time and really, really, master it and just perfect it, you'll be amazed at what you can complete. And then look at your business and say, okay, what am I doing that's working? And how can I do more of it? Right? How can I improve that thing that's already working? How can I amplify it? Right? Like you're saying, growth amplifiers. How can I amplify that? Right? Instead, so many people are like, okay, what's the next thing? The next. And then it's like, not only do you feel overwhelmed, but so does your staff.
I love the little exercise. I even did that with my son recently. I have two sons who are 6 and 9. And it's the exercise we say, count from 1 to 10 and just count as fast as you can. And then now say the alphabet, the first 10 letters of the alphabet. And then, all right, so do that as fast as you can. Now go back and forth between the two and see how fast.
A1, B2, 3, C. That's funny.
Yeah.
So why do you have them do that?
Well, it was they were starting to getting in this idea of multitasking. And it was the example that shows, multitasking, trying to do several things at the same time is less effective.
Oh, yes.
You should get to switch your train of thought and to shift. And even as something as simple as saying numbers in the alphabet, when you try to go back and forth, unless you've practiced it a few times and got it memorized, it slows you down. You can't do it as fast.
Oh, yeah. So, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A1, B2, 3. Yep.
So it's just a clear example, because there was that whole hype in the past about how important it was to just fit more in and multitask and just cram your day and just be massively busy. But I think simple is better. If you're strategic and you're simplified and you're really focused, you have the right disciplines, that's how you can really amplify.
Oh, there's research, tons of research about multitasking. And, the more you multitask, the harder it is to stay on task. The more that you multitask, the less that you actually get done. I mean, and there's tons of research on it. Go research it. And I did this because we were really trying to figure out how can we be more successful as a company and get more done and be more effective and more proficient.
Mm-hmm.
And a ton of it was just on just that multitasking. And that was a great example of it too, and how multitasking does not work. Well, so tell us a little bit about, it's like, where you came from, how you got here.
I got here. I was conceived back in.
You know what I mean?
No, I really was kind of like the shy kid, the loner back in my youth, and I found my first passion when I was 14 by going to a rock concert. And I was just blown away by these guys on stage. There was flashing lights, booming bass. Everything was just really exciting. And I said, that's what I really want to do. And I started a band as a teen and started playing in bands, recording music, doing all this fun stuff. Hence the name Growth Amplifiers, rock my image, amplify your business. All that comes back to that passion. But I ran into a wall because I had a passion, but I didn't know the business aspect. And you've heard the saying many times, follow your passion and the money will follow. That's a partial truth. There's a reason there are a lot of starving artists out there, right?
Yeah.
And it's not enough just to follow your passion. You really got to study and learn what you need to do to be successful and build the disciplines in order to make that happen. You might find a few examples of some artists that have managed to make something of themselves without doing that. But a lot of them really have put in the effort and learn the craft and made the connections to build that business. So after running into that wall, I ended up going to school, learning how I could do marketing and multimedia, and realizing there's a whole different world that I could use my creativity to help people be more creative and succeed in other ways. So that's interesting. So that's what I ended up doing, and really found out, kind of like now I see myself more as a producer, where I may see someone who has a talent. They have, the right attitude, expertise, and drive, but they have their talents, but they need some help to help produce and take their concept into the next level to amplify it. So
Gotcha.
That's kind of where my background came from, shifting in there. And it's my passion because I see so many people who have, something that they're passionate about, they're excited about, they're great people, they're doing amazing things. But if they don't get a little help, if they don't get some systems in place, they can hit that wall. And that awesomeness that they have inside of them may not get to shine out and come into existence. So that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, passion is great. And it's really important, to do something you love, but you need to know how to take that passion and turn it into profits, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do I take that thing that I love doing, that I'm really good at, that I enjoy, and really prosper from it and profit from it? And let's just make it very clear. There's nothing wrong from profiting from doing what you love. Nothing wrong at all from that. So don't ever feel like, oh, I shouldn't make any money from this. No, money is a good thing. We love money because it can help us help ourselves and help other people. So that's really important. Okay, so talk to us, what kind of struggles do you see people coming in the way of people's success and amplifying their growth and amplifying their business?
And we've kind of already touched base on them, but I'll give you a tip on a couple ways to resolve. So one is trying to do too many things, just overwhelming, trying to do too many things at once. And you think, I'm not getting the results I want, so I need to do more, when in fact it's counterintuitive. You need to actually do less to be more effective. So then the other thing is, all right, so are you focusing on the right things? And when it comes down to small business, the first two things that we really say you got to focus on is, number one, have a solid strategy to create predictable sales that you can scale and grow. Once you have sales down, you want to be thinking about how can you maximize your profits. And the profit drivers that we talk about are lead generation. Number one, lead generation. 2, sales conversion. 3 would be number of transactions. 4, the average dollar per transaction. And 5, the average profit margin overall. Key is, if you will pay attention to those key metrics in your business, and take even small, subtle changes to increase those, it will have a big impact on the bottom line. I've literally seen double profitability just by being able to focus on those important numbers rather than being so busy and focusing on all these different things that can be done and just getting caught up in the minutia. Really being focused on really the 5 profit drivers that will increase your bottom line and really exponentially make the effort that you're putting into your business amplified.
Yes, like less effort would be nice, right? Making more money with less effort would be great. And again, I think like you said, really focusing on, the key major factors, a few things that are really driving the needle, and focusing on those, and how do you make those just amplify those results as much as possible. One thing I see too with a lot of people, they just get in their own way, right? Like they themselves get in their way because they're worried about being too perfect, or they don't ever really start. They're getting ready so much, they're aiming so much, they don't really fire. They always say ready, aim, fire. I always say fire and then get ready and then aim, so that way, because the more you fire at something, the more you're going to be able to realize what's working and what's not. Because so many people just have a hard time just actually starting, I think, their own, or they're worried, or their fear gets in their way and they're stuck in their comfort zone. There's just so many things. And I really believe that working on your mindset and really having, working on a daily basis on what you're saying to yourself, writing out your affirmations, really focusing on your positive thought process, visualizing and seeing yourself succeeding, believing that you can do it, is such a huge, huge factor in people's success as well.
I couldn't agree more. There's a lady that I've been talking to recently, and we connected. She told me one of her biggest challenges is she's been trying to reinvent her business over the past 3 years. She's been in masterminds. She's been in different networking groups. She's invested in different programs. She's done all these different things and isn't getting the result. And chatting with her, it came down to the understanding of she's not firing the gun.
Yeah, she just keeps learning.
She's learning, and trying to figure out what she needs to know to get all the answers to line up, to find that perfect silver bullet to make everything easy. And like you said, it's like you're not going to find those answers until you get started.
Yes.
You just need to get it out there. And even if it's not that successful when you start, you're going to get feedback and be much further along you would than if you continue to wait. You spent 3 years. How much information do you need? Right. And I think it is very common. It is very common. And we can let our fears of, what happens if it doesn't work out, or what will people say? I know another guy that's reluctant to market to his existing customers because he doesn't want to offend them.
Oh.
And I was like, well, do you believe what you're offering is helpful? It's like, yes. Then why would you think that's potentially offending them just to put it out there? You're not forcing it on them.
Yes.
So I like asking people this question. What is driving your boat right now? Is it fear or is it faith? Is it fear or is it faith? Just take a gut check on that, because you shouldn't let fear drive your boat, right? You're the captain in your ship, and you get to decide what's motivating you. Is it fear or faith?
Yeah, and have the faith and believe that you can do it. Get back to that lady. So talking about, and you got to think about this. If you've got 3 years of knowledge and training behind you, that's so much you can't implement that anyways. Like, you've got to take small pieces and chunks and just start. And even if it's not perfect, just like, Kenny said, what happens is that you'll learn as you go. You'll adapt, you'll adjust, you'll modify, you'll change, you'll enhance, right? As you're going. But if you're just waiting, even 6 months to start, just start. The momentum will start happening.
So here's what she was doing in her mind. And this is, it's an important thing. We've identified something that's a challenge for a lot of people. And this may be you listening in. You may be thinking, oh man, there is something I've been trying to do for a while and I haven't been able to get it done. She was saying, I need to build this course. I need to have this automated marketing working. I need to have all these different components. She's like thinking of this empire and then getting overwhelmed with it. It's like, why don't you just set a date within the next, few weeks and just outline the key components. It doesn't need to be automated. It doesn't need to be produced and recorded. Just get it into action. Start sharing it with people. And at least you'll have that down and it'll be in action, right? So I really am a fan of what you're saying of fire. Just get it out there. You'll get feedback. And then you could work on, all right, stage 2. Now, what are we going to add to that to enhance it? So if you're thinking about that right now, listening in, start with getting something done. Something is better than nothing. Getting it into action.
I remember when I first went into coaching, and so I created this whole outline of all the topics, and then I recorded all these videos, right? Did all these like hours and hours and hours and hours of videos. And then I was like, what I should have done was create one video, go back and watch it, have it edited, And so then by the time I was finished, we had all this stuff to edit. And it's like, hey, the sound isn't good. And so we had to start all over. And I was like, oh my gosh. But looking back now, I just like really thought it through more and just done one piece. Okay, I'm going to record the video, pick the topic, do the outline on that one topic, write down the training pieces, make my slides, record it, get it edited. And then I can see, okay, now how can I improve that process? What can I learn from? Instead, I just kind of did it all wrong, but at least I did it, right? So the one thing I learned was, wow, I got better as time went on, recording these videos. But at least I started. But I will say, I wish I would have kind of done it a little differently looking back now,
I've been guilty doing very similar things. So yeah. That's another common thing that I'm seeing a lot of people doing at the moment is just trying to produce too much up front. Like, I know there's a lady right now that I chatted with the other week, and she's hired a video production company to do all this video production work and basically create this huge system, which is great that she's getting it into action, but she hasn't really taken a step back to realize, like, how is she going to market this? How is this going to work big picture? And is this product even something that people want?
Yeah. Oh, and then I was like, I thought, oh, more, I need to make each video so long. And I do like an hour training. And then I realized, oh my gosh, people, like, research shows you need 3, 6, 12-minute trainings at the max, so then you learn and you live and you learn. I still launched and I still started, and I just kept improving it as I went. So, well, good. This has been great, Kenny. So Kenny, I always like to ask people, first of all, how can people, I know they can find you on Growth Amplifiers, the podcast, right? Or go to growthamplifiers.com. You got some great, I was on your podcast. You got some great people on there. I've listened to it. You do a great job interviewing people, by the way. Very, very,
thank you.
It's really a great podcast. And is there anything else that you want to promote that people can kind of learn more about you, or you'd like to promote for our guests, listeners?
So if there is somebody who's listening and thought maybe the 5 profit drivers that I mentioned earlier were worthwhile, you can go to findmyprofits.com and you can get a free download of that guide, which will just basically outline the profit drivers for your business, 5 profit drivers. And just, you could do a subtle assessment to see, is there an area that you'd want to put focus and attention to, and really just get some clarity on where you could put attention to that would make the biggest impact to amplify your business. Work smarter, not harder. So there you go. Findmyprofits.com.
Is that so? Find My Profits. I'm just writing that down. Okay, awesome, great. Okay, so go to findmyprofits.com. You can learn more from Kenny at Growth Amplifiers. But before we leave, Kenny, I always like to ask people if there's one piece of advice that you can give our listeners, whether it's personal or business or entrepreneurial or whatever it might be. One piece of advice, what would that be?
Follow your passion, and the money will follow. Just kidding. No, I think it really is good to follow your passion, to have a bold vision and write it out. Really define what your bold vision is. It's so basic. You've probably heard it 1,000 times before, but when I wrote my first book, Amplify Your Business, that had that question in there and would ask people, what is your bold vision? What are you looking to achieve? Guess what the number one answer was?
What?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't have it defined. And through time, your life changes, right? Things happen. We have pandemics and things get out of hand. And so to take a step back and just make sure that you've defined, where you want to go, what gets you excited, what gets you adrenalized. Do you have a clear vision on what that is? And if you don't have it written down right now, take a step to write it down, get excited, get focused, and then just live your life working towards getting to that vision. That's
Yes, it's so true. And it does seem so basic, but there's so much also, again, research on having goals, a clearly defined vision, knowing where it is that you want to go. So your brain needs to know where to take you, right? Like your brain needs to know, where do you want? How can I get you there? Your reticular activating system will work toward your advantage when it knows exactly what your vision is, and it will help you get to that place. So Kenny, that was wonderful. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your time. You did a great job. Everyone, the listeners are going to love this today. And take his advice, write your vision down. And don't forget, if you want to find more out about Kenny, you can go to findmyprofits.com for the 5 key indicators to find out how you can be more profitable in your business and in life. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you being here. Hope you're making the best of today. And as always, make it a good one. And remember that learning is great, but without actually implementing, nothing is going to change. And I'll see you next time. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
Hey there, I have a brand new podcast called Fired Up with Krista Mashore, where I bring my high energy right to your ears. This podcast is available on all your favorite podcast platforms. So do me a favor, go subscribe and leave a review. All this information is free, and I cannot wait to teach you everything I know. Thanks so much for watching my video. You can learn more about how to be a successful real estate professional by watching other videos that I have. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. And as always, make it a great home selling and buying day.